trying to examine today is how to facilitate and drive change in content, access, and of course delivery of education. So, you all know the quote by now from President Obama, who said that education and innovation will be the currency of the 21st century. You may not have heard Bill Gates say education is key to economic development. I'm looking for you today, not just the speakers up here, but also out there in the auditorium. I'm looking for ways to initiate new ideas, methods, and practices. One valid question was put to me as I discussed this session with a leading academic who asked me, are we at risk of putting the cart before the horse? Are we thinking about e-learning, computers, and internet-based learning even before some countries have the resources to utilize those technologies?
Research-led education is the extra driver that can make an important difference if the benefits of connectivity and teraflops of information is to be mobilized. At the same time, the best teachers are those who can inspire young people through the quality of their work.
10 years ago, I decided to test a very simple hypothesis. I took a computer and I made an opening in a wall in a slum in New Delhi, and I pushed the computer into that. I connected it to broadband internet. I turned it on and I just left it there. When I came back after 2 months, I found an 8-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl playing a game on the computer. And when they saw me, they said, "We want a faster processor and a better mouse." So, thank you very much. That's exactly what I felt when I heard this statement. Well, I wanted to test this hypothesis, that groups of children, given the appropriate digital resources, can attain educational objectives on their own. A French artist, a new media digital artist, one of the state-of-the-art people in the world, came to India, and I sent him to one of my hole-in-the-wall establishments and said, "Can you teach digital art to children who don't know anything about art, but they know how to use a computer because I gave them one?" Pascal Monteil spent 15 days over there, and he simply drew in front of the children. The children started to copy him. The children produced images within the first 15 days of watching Pascal Monteil, images that were good enough for Pascal to take to the Pompidou Center in Paris and to have an exhibition. It was, I think, a very proud moment for the children of the Hole in the Wall. So, a number of experiments in phase 2 illustrated that children can learn by themselves a number of things. They can learn how to use computers, they can learn functional English, they can improve their pronunciation skills, they can improve their algebra results, they can learn art, they can learn music. The list goes on. It's all published material, so I won't talk more about it. It was time to take a very important and provocative hypothesis. Can groups of children complete their schooling on their own? We don't have enough schools in the world. We don't have enough teachers in the world. We know that we are not going to have enough schools and teachers in the world. So we know at the moment that children can learn how to use computers on their own. Children can learn how to do their schooling on their own if they want to. With the help of a mediator, they can reach the levels of at least an average school. We need subsidized broadband and electricity in all schools. I don't think we can ask children or their parents to pay for this. We need self-organized, fault-tolerant technology that can repair itself. We need self-organized learning environments as a part of timetable. If children are allowed free time to play, then they should be allowed free time in cyberspace. We need clouds of mediators as part of faculty. We need a curriculum that's based on questions and not on topics. And we need a self-organized assessment system. I think it can be done. You can get education to everybody. I think it's a question of attitude. It's not a question of technology. Technology is the simplest part of the whole thing. What we get as a future is our schools of clouds, where children, mediators, and the technology interact with each other to actually fulfill or complete a curriculum. Thank you very much.
It struck us that the idea of a flock of birds moving around an object in flight looks so choreographed, it looks so beautiful and so planned, and yet it isn't. It's really just rudimentary communication among individuals in real time, allowing them to behave and move as one. And that's what was happening with Twitter during geopolitical unrest in certain areas. There was one student actually who left UC Berkeley to go to Egypt to photograph protests as part of his thesis, and he kept missing the protests. And he asked his friends in Egypt, how is it that you know where to go and where to organize? And they said, we're using this tool called Twitter. And so he joined, and suddenly he was plugged in, and he was in the know, and he was able to show up on time to get these wonderful photos. But he was arrested with the protesters, and he was scared, and he didn't know what to do, and he was thrown into the back of a car, and they had not taken his mobile from him, so he twittered one word, and the word was arrested. And his friends back home in Berkeley were following his Twitter updates, and they knew what the situation was, so they called the dean, and the dean called the lawyer, and the lawyer called the consulate, and 2 hours later, this young man sent out another one-word tweet, which was freed. A friend of mine asked me, what do you hope to achieve? What is it that you're trying to do with Twitter? Ultimately, we hope this will be a triumph of humanity, not a triumph of technology. So, as Professor Mitra was saying, the technology is the easy part, it's the simple part. It's what people will do with it that's so impressive, and overwhelmingly what they do with it is good. Sort of driving belief at Twitter is that the open exchange of information can lead to positive global impact. So the sharing of knowledge and the exchange of information can actually make the world better. And if to break that down a little bit more, we think that when people are more informed through using a simple tool like Twitter, then they become more engaged. And when they're more engaged with one another, then they become more empathetic to the plight of others around the world. And when we all become a little bit more empathetic, then the world becomes a smaller place, and I think we all become more aware that we're global citizens. The reason why we focused on creating these short messages of 140 characters or less is because we wanted to address the fact that there are 4 billion active mobile accounts in the world. There are only 1.5 billion active web accounts. So when we look at the potential reach and the potential spread of information and knowledge, we can look at a much broader network when we include mobile, and when we make the service device agnostic such that these messages can flow freely between either mobile or the web.